Welcome to your Intermediate Advanced CSP Pilates workout. Before you partake in this workout, just make sure you've done a 10 to 15 minute warm-up. You can find a few little warm-ups on my channel, and at the end of the class make sure you do a 10-minute stretch. Again, you can find some 10-minute stretch sessions on my channel. Before you do start the workout, just check the area around you, check there's no obstacles or hazards getting in your way. Be sure that you're fit and well enough to partake in this session. Any equipment you might use, make sure you use in line with your manufacturer's guidelines. And this video is for UK residents only. So we're going to begin our intermediate advanced workout. We're going to begin down on the mat today, onto our tummies. We're going to take a cobra just to start getting those back muscles working a little bit and engaging still through the front of our body. So let's just set ourselves up into that position, forehead resting on that cushion, hands just about in line with your ears, just a little bit in front. So start to tilt down your tailbone towards your feet, because even though we're coming up into that cobra, we want to keep that nice activation through our spine. So being careful in this cobra, not just to compress and dip through that lower back. So we're going to start to peel the head, the chest, gentle pressure on those hands away from the mat. Start to lift through your breastbone, lift through your rib cage, and start to lift that belly. Imagine there's a little flame just under that belly, just trying to touch it. As you get to the top, just tilt that tailbone down towards your feet a little bit more. Make sure you're engaging through that lower belly. And now start to just release that lower belly back down to the mat. Release the lower rib cage, top of the rib cage, the breastbone, and lastly start to lower down through your head. Let's go again, just a few more here. Engage that belly, keep it engaged the whole time. Peel that head, that chest, top of the rib cage, lower rib cage, lastly the belly. And you'll come to rest somewhere here. Tilt that tailbone down towards your feet, engage that belly. Don't let it touch that flame. Make sure you have length in the back of your neck, crown of the head, tipping upwards. And back down. Lower slowly, peeling back through. Good, let's go for 3 more. So start to peel. So you'll notice I keep that peach between my chin and my chest. As I get to the top of the movement, that piece of string, putting the crown of my head just slightly up towards the front of the room there. Lovely. I'm nice and active through my lower belly. I'm tilting my tailbone, working actively to keep it slanting down towards my feet. So I'm not just compressing in the lower back, a difference between here, and then lowering back down. 2 more. Let's breathe out as we lift. In to hold at the top. And out as we lower back down. Good work. As little pressure on the hands as possible, because you're working hard through the muscles in your back, in the front of your body, to extend that spine into that cobra. And breathe out as we lower. Good work. Take a moment. So we're going to move on into our swim level 4. So we're coming straight up onto our all fours position for this one. So just check in this all fours position. Hands just a fraction in front of your shoulders. Elbows nice and soft. Back of the neck nice and long. Maintain that peach between your chin and your chest. Tray of drinks balancing across your back. Headlights on the front of your hips facing the floor. Headlights on the back of your hips facing the ceiling and nice and even. Knees hip width apart. Toes in line with your knees. So in this swim level 4, we're keeping all that glued and balanced. We're going to move one arm, one leg away from each other. Reach, shine a light from the end of your fingers, end of your toes. Then replace back down to the mat, draw that line in the sand before you pop them back to that all fours position. Let's repeat with the same arm and leg today. Push away, keeping that lovely neutral through your spine. Shine a light from your fingers, light from your toes before popping back down again. Lovely. I'm trying to keep the back of my neck nice and long, holding that peach between my chin and my chest. I'm staying nice and open through my collarbones. My lower rib, spring is engaged, gently drawing down towards my front hip bone. My lower belly is active. I'm using those magnets drawing towards each other. I'm trying to keep my front headlights facing directly down towards the floor, nice and even, and I'm keeping my back headlights facing towards the ceiling. Watch on that lifted leg that you don't lift and twist that hip too high to get that lift in the leg. We're going to hold the next one up. Just set through your center. Check you're on that central pole. You haven't shifted off to this side. Try and stay nice and center. Now give me little pulses. Little pulses, just wherever you are. You could be here, that's fine. Or you could be here at hip height. Just make sure this hip doesn't lift to allow that leg to lift. We don't want that twist in the spine. For 4, 3, 2, 1. And then pop it back down. Lovely. Let's go the other side. Push, reach, stretch, shine lights. And then slowly back down. Draw that line through the floor as you come back. Draw that line away. Reach, stretch, shine those lights. Check in with your supporting elbow. Make sure you haven't locked through that supporting arm. Keep that elbow nice and soft. Make sure you're not pushing away from that arm. Make sure you're not leaning heavily onto it. Make that weight bearing nice and even. Remember that center pole coming from the top of your head right down to your tailbone. And release. Lovely. Make sure you're not twisting through this lifted hip. We don't want to twist here to get that leg up. Keep the back of the hips nice and level. Keep that tray of drinks balancing across the back of your hips. Lovely. Good work. Breathe. Let's hold the next one up. Engage that belly. Engage that spring and pulse. Lovely. As you pulse, we're not turning the hip. We're keeping those hips level, keeping that tray of drinks balancing, and we're just lifting, working really hard in this bottom here. Keep the front of the body working. Don't let the front of the body sag down to the mat. Keep it engaged. Keep the spine nice and long for 3, 2, 1. And release. Pop yourself down into that shell stretch for a moment. If you need to, just stretch those wrists forward and back. Lovely, good work. So just a little bit more work to do here. We're going to do a quick work in our leg pull-in prone. So we're going to come into that level 2 position now. So we're going to take the hands a little bit further in front of our shoulders, toes tucked under. Keep that neckline nice and long. We're just going to do 2 or 3 to warm up, and then we're going to just hold for our prone prep. Hover those knees. Push forward. Launch that rocket. Bottom low in line with the rest of your spine. Crown of the head down to the base of the spine. And then release back down. We're going to hover. We're going to launch. We're keeping the front of the body nice and active. Back of the body working hard, all in synergy. And then release back down. Keep those elbows nice and soft. Hold this next one. Now either hold in this prone pull prep position 2, or start to tap one toe up and replace back down. Just reaching and shining a light from those toes as you pop it back down. Just a few here as we hold, or you're just holding steady in your plank position. Releasing. Let's go for 1, 2, 2 more, 3, breathe, and now release back down. Good, all the way back down into that shell stretch. And if you need to, just stretching out those wrists again. So we're turning ourselves around now onto our backs. We're working into some one leg circle in this position. So you've got a couple of options here. We're going for our level 2. So coming into that rest position, so keeping this knee bent, just set yourself up with your head, neck and shoulders using your pillow or your folded towel. Set your center with that diamond. And you're going to float one leg up towards the ceiling. You've got a pencil on the end of your toes. Now you have option to have the hands down by the side if you want to work a little bit harder. You can take your hands towards the ceiling. Wherever you are, you're going to start to draw circles on that ceiling. with that pencil coming off the end of that toe. So you're watching now those headlights on the front of your hips. Keep them nice and steady, pointing up towards the ceiling. They don't change the whole way through that circling. This support leg is really nice and steady, not wobbling in or out. Your lower belly's engaged. Your spring is engaged. Gentle tension between your lower rib and your front hip bone. We're making those circles nice and even on the ceiling, nice and steady, working in deep into that hip. Take a pause and start to switch direction of those circles. Start to circle the other way, drawing those circles. Lovely. As you're concentrating on those circles, make sure the front of the neck hasn't tensed. Make sure the shoulders stay melting into the mat, collarbones smiling wide, keeping this support leg nice and steady. Keep that center engaged. Let's do 2 more here. Lovely. Or you might have your hands to the ceiling, working you a little bit harder. Pop that leg back down. So I'll show you with the hands up for the second side. Pop the other leg up. Lovely. Start to circle that leg. Trying to keep this leg nice and steady. You choose the size of your circles. Work with control, work with precision. Nice and steady. Maybe just lingering on any little stiff bits you can feel. Lots of deep hip muscles there, working them all in each part of that circle. Lovely. Good work. Keep that lower belly engaged. Keep that lower rib engaged. So you either hands down or hands up. Take a pause. Start to switch direction of those circles. Good work. Keeping that center set. It doesn't change. Keep that breath flowing steadily in and out. Shoulder blades open. 2 and 1. And release back down. Lovely. So we're going to start to work a little bit harder into the tummy muscles now. So we're coming into that double leg stretch 3. So we're going to float one leg up to tabletop. Set your center and float the other leg. So we're going to take the hands to the ceiling. And let's just start with the arms hovering overhead, circling back round. Breathing out. Circle and back round. And quickly starting to bring those legs into it. So start to push one leg away, reaching for that light switch and back in. At the same time, you're hovering those arms overhead. So you're going for a 45-degree angle with that leg. Make sure that leg's not too high, not too low. Unless you're getting a little bit of clicking in that hip, then go nice and high with the leg. So pushing away. So I'm working hard here to keep the front of my neck nice and relaxed, back of the neck nice and long. Working hard to keep my shoulder blades melting into the mat. Working hard to keep that spring engaged between my lower rib and my front hip. Working hard to keep my lower belly engaged. Keep that exact same connection with the mat. So as everything moves away, I'm not lifting. As everything moves away, I'm not squashing and tensing that way. Try and keep neutral. Let's go for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold up, take a pause. Take those hands down to the floor. So what we're going to do this time is we're going to switch between an abdo prep and a double leg stretch. So let's start to peel up, gaze over the knees. As we come down, come into that double arm circle. Reach up. As we come down, lift and come into that double arm circle. So you'll notice we've got those legs up for that abdo prep. So working a little bit harder, especially through the top of the belly, peeling that rib cage up. Arms circle round, down, hover, gaze over those knees. Lovely, working through that rib cage to keep the front of the neck nice and soft as you gaze over the knees. Collarbones stay smiling wide even though we're lifting. Lovely, holding steady through those legs. And release back down. And release. Lovely, good work. Obviously easy as you take those arms overhead. As you come back down, you're just making sure that you keep that spring connected, that tension on that spring of your lower rib to your front hip bone. Last one. One more arm circle, back down to the mat. Float one leg down and then the other leg. Good work. Take a little stretch out there. Arms overhead, legs out long. So we're coming into some combination of our one leg stretch 3 and our hip twist 4. So we're coming back up into that double tabletop position. So we're going to float one leg, take a breath, breathe out, float the other leg. So take those hands down by your sides, set your neck and your shoulders. Start to push one leg away from you, reaching for that light switch. Back in. We're going to open that same leg out into our hip twist 4. Keep this knee pointing directly towards the ceiling. Keep moving the same leg. Push the same leg away. One leg stretch, opening out into that hip twist. Lovely. Keep that moving. Center of your body stays glued, stays solid. And back in. Opening the page of a book. So remember, with this hip twist movement, we're not just turning the knee out and keeping the foot in. We're taking the whole thing out to the side and back in. As we do that, we think about those headlights on the front of our hips, not moving from the ceiling. So the headlights don't turn and follow that hip. So we don't turn the whole body that way. This leg stays glued. Breathing out, in, out, in, out, in. Out, in. Lovely. Just a couple more this leg. Melt those shoulder blades into the mat. Lengthen the back of the neck. Keep that center engaged. Last one. That leg is light as a feather. Reaching. And then just take a pause. Just pop those legs down for a moment. Quick little rest in the middle. Let's come up again. One leg and then the other leg. Hands down. Taking the other leg now, push away. You'll notice my leg is about 45 degrees. I'm reaching for that switch and then I'm opening out into that twist. I'm going to turn to face you so you can see what my leg and my hips are doing. So I'm going to turn around now. We reach. The leg is light, being pulled on a pulley. Reaching for that light switch. We take that leg, we draw an arch out to the side and back in. This leg stays nice and steady. Push away. Back to that tabletop, open into that hip twist, and back to center. My headlights staying facing towards the ceiling. I'm keeping that lower rib spring engaged. Collarbones open, shoulder blades melting into the mat. Lovely. I'm going to turn back. You continue there, just a few more reps on that side. Breathing. Let's go for the last one here. Pause in the middle, release those feet down, and let's take a little stretch. Arms overhead, legs out long. And breathe. And breathe. So we're going to do a little bit more work for the tummy here before we do a bit of work round our bottom muscles onto our sides. So we're going to come up to sitting for this one, and we're going to work into a little bit of roll up. So we're really working deep into those bellies now. So we're going to take the hands out in front, take your knees and your feet together, and we're going to tilt that tailbone. So we're going to need to curl. We're moving between a flexed and extended spine position here. So we're going to curl off that tailbone, coming down into that C curve position. So you'll notice my spine is making a C, and then coming back up again and extending at the top. So the range of movement varies from person to person here. So you could just have a small range of movement here, even smaller it could be here, as long as you're engaging through that tummy as you draw down. Or if you're not feeling challenged, you might want to come down a little bit further. But watch what's happening in your neck, watch what's happening in your shoulders. You want to really just work the belly here. Don't tense up through the top of the body. And if you're feeling anything through the back, you certainly need to reduce your range of movement. You don't want any tension in your back into these roll-ups. So if you come down to here and you start to feel it engage in your back, just bring the height up. So wherever we are, we're going to work through whatever range of movement works for us. And release. Breathe out. And in. Breathe out. And in. So you'll notice I'm curling my spine. I'm trying to create a C shape with my spine. So I'm really drawing my belly in, using those tummy muscles. Let's do a few more here. 3. I'm nice and open through my collarbones. Last one. Good. Just hug those knees in for a moment. Take a little pause. So you'll be working anywhere from here right down to here. Okay, so I'm just showing you somewhere in the middle of those 2 points. So just hug those knees for a moment. We're going to go into our oblique version now, just so that we work a little bit harder into the sides of the belly. So come back to where you were. Have your knees quite nice and bent. Take the arms up. So this time we roll down wherever you are in that range of movement. Nice and relaxed through the neck, open through the collarbones. Now we're going to open out to the side, back in, out to the side, back in. And we're going to roll back up. We're going to challenge it a little bit. Each time we go down, we're going to add on 2 more openings, okay? Trying to get up to 10. So we're going to roll back down. Find that C shape. Find that curve in your spine. Open for 4 this time. Twist from your waist upwards. Really open up and find that twist so you're working the sides of the bellies. Last one. And push and release back up. Lovely, good work. And down. Open. And close. 4. For 3. Last 2. Feel that tummy working. And 1. Roll back up. We've got 2 more sets. 1 of 8, 1 of 10. Lovely, good work. Keep that neck nice and soft. No feeling in the back. Remember, if you're feeling it in the back, you come up a little bit. So draw that spring together. Curl down. Let's go for 8. I'm breathing out as I open. In as I come back in. That's 4. You're halfway. Let's go for 4 more. Last one. So if you need to, just take a rest. Otherwise, we're going to go for that 10. Last set. 10 to go. Let's go. Let's roll down. Set your lower belly. Set that spring between your rib and your front hip bones. Set that C shape. Soft in the neck. Let's go. 1. That's halfway. 5. 2 more. 1 and 2. Good. And extend back up. And now just hug those knees in towards your chest. Good work. Okay. So we're going to do a little bit of supine leg pull variation now, just to get those glutes working, the main glute on the buttock there before we turn to our sides. So we're going to come back leaning onto the hands. Hands either facing out towards the sides, or if you want to, you can have them facing in towards your bottom. Okay, so the hands, I'm going to go for out to the sides, just a tiny bit of distance between your feet and your knees. So we're going to be lifting. So imagine a piece of rope around your hips, lifting you up to the ceiling. Headlights on the front of your hips. Push up towards the ceiling. Draw those sit bones together and use the strength in your buttocks. Just keep your gaze looking over your knees as you lift. Keep the front of the neck nice and soft. Lovely, good work. Breathe out as you lift. Let's do in to hold, out as we lower. So you're taking care again not to lock through those elbows. Keep that slight bend in the elbows. Lovely, just repeating a few more here. It's quite a strong one on the shoulders, so just a short set here for us today. But the more you lift and use, engage through your center, through your core, you'll take more pressure off those shoulders. That rope is lifting your hips. You're using the strength in your buttocks but you're also engaging through the front of the belly. Lovely. And release. Hold the next one up for me. So set there. You could be nice and low here. You could be nice and high here. Head light straight, pointing towards the ceiling. Tummy engaged, lower rib engaged. Now draw those sit bones together a little bit more and just pulse those hips. Hold at the top of wherever you are, pulsing. Gaze over those knees. Keep those elbows soft. Every time you pulse, make sure your lower belly is engaged for 4, 3, 2, 1. Good work. Just hug those knees in again for a moment. So we're going to go down, round onto our sides now, and we're going to do a little bit of work into the top and the sides of the hip, right deep into the hip. Okay, so coming down, take a little cushion or towel and just hold on to that. So we're going to try for both legs straight. So just take a moment just to slide that top hip down and that top hip forward enough that your headlight is facing front, shoulders facing front. Engage through the lower belly, engage through that rib cage. Take that top leg to hip height. So we're going to glide that top leg forward and back. Lovely. So you might want to have the hand in front of you on the mat to steady you. Or if you feel nice and steady, you can have that top hand on your top hip. So wherever you are, you're gliding that top leg like a paintbrush, painting strokes. Nice and steady. So you'll notice my leg isn't wobbling up and down. It stays nice and steady at hip height. My top headlight stays facing forward. Doesn't move. I'm working to keep my lower belly engaged. I'm working to keep my spring engaged. What I'm watching for is that my spine stays nice and straight. So as that leg moves forward especially, I'm not curling through my spine here. As the leg moves back, I'm not pushing my belly and arching in the middle of my back. I'm keeping my spine and my pelvis nice and steady and strong as I glide that leg forward and back. So we're going to add a little combination on now. So as that leg comes back, we're going to add in a lift and lower. So we go forward, back, lift, lower. So keep that top hip rotating down. Headlight facing forward. So as we come especially into that lift and lower now, we don't want to open up and roll those hips back. Keep that top hip engaged. Working hard through the top and the sides of the bottom, deep into the hip. Good. So I'm keeping my lower belly engaged, relaxing through the top of the body, not gripping tight onto this cushion. Good, let's go for one more. Hand is here if you're feeling a bit wobbly, or hand is on your top hip if you're feeling nice and steady. So take a pause. We're going to move that top leg behind us out the way, so just pop that foot up and out the way. We're going to straighten the bottom leg as much as we can, and we're going to start to just lift and lower that bottom leg. So the foot is flexed, and we're pushing the inside of that foot up towards the ceiling, straight up and straight back down again. Lovely. So you're going to have to roll this top hip back a little bit just to give you the space to move that leg this time. Good. And you're lifting as high as your leg is happy to go. So you might be here, or you might be all the way up here. Keep that lower belly engaged. Good. Breathe out and in. Out and in. Now hold at the top this time and pulse. Little pulses, little breaths. Really working through the inside of that leg. Breathing, shoulders relaxed, lower belly, lower rib engaged. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Just let that top hip drop forward. Give it a little tap. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. So coming round onto the other side, pop yourself down. So we're going to start with that level 3. So for when you come back to this video, or just for this set, if you found it really wobbly on the first side, you can come back to that level 2 where that bottom leg is bent. It does give you just that bit more stability. Otherwise, both legs straight, we start to glide that top leg forward and back. Keeping that trunk, keeping that pelvis nice and steady. So we're not curling forward and we're not arching back. Keep that spring engaged between your lower rib and your front hip bone. Keep that lower belly engaged. So especially as that leg moves back, don't push the belly to the front of the room. So your hand is in front supporting you, or you've got it on your top hip if you're feeling nice and steady. Lovely. Wherever you are, breathe out and in, out and in. That top leg is like a paintbrush, just gliding through that movement. Keeping that breath flowing. Nice and relaxed through the top of the body. Don't grip into that cushion. Don't grip into this hand. Don't grip into this hand. Lovely. Keep that leg gliding. You look down your body. The other leg stays nicely in line, maybe just a touch in front. Lovely. We're going to add that lift and lower now. Lift and lower. Forward, back. Lift and lower. Breathe. And remember, on that lift and lower, we're keeping that toe ever so slightly rotated down, keeping that whole hip slightly rotated down, not opening out into that lift. Forward, back, lift and lower. Keep that lower belly engaged. Keep steady through the trunk. Good, let's go for one more. Good, now pop that leg out the way. Just roll a little bit. Fire up this bottom leg now. Straighten out, foot flex. And start to lift the inside of the foot up to the ceiling and back down. Maybe breathing out as you lift, in as you lower. Keep that lower belly active. Nice and relaxed through the top of the body. Lovely. Nice straight knee for this one. Really working through the inside of the thigh. Lovely. Nearly there. This is your last set of the day. But just be sure to work on a 10-minute stretch when you finish. Want to try and work on cooling those muscles down in a nice lengthened position. Let's hold the next one up. Whatever height you're at, start to pulse. Little pulses, little breaths, hopefully feeling the inside of that thigh working now. Maybe even down to the lower leg. Wherever you are, keep that lower belly engaged for the last few. Lovely. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Let it go. Just give it a little tap. And then just enjoy your next 10 minutes stretching out all those muscles we've just worked really hard.